everybody. Welcome to Ask Tamily. This is interview 186 with Rachel. Her handle is Rundown with Rachel, so if you don't follow her, you can go check her out. And I'm just going to pull her into the conversation right now.
Hello.
Two times is a charm. So
I know, I'm so relieved. I don't know about you, but I get so anxious around technical things.
Same here, same here. Well, it's so nice to talk with you. I'm really excited to do this interview today, Rachel. And just so everybody knows how the process will go, I have some planned questions for Rachel. I can take questions in the chat. We will kind of see where the conversation takes us, but we're really excited to dig in, to learn more about you and your journey. So if you don't mind, can you start off, obviously we know your name is Rachel, but tell us where you're from, a little bit about what you do and how you spend your time.
Sure. So I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. I hit the lottery. I mean, being born in the States, being born in Florida, I hit the lottery. I lived in South Florida for 5 years once I graduated college and started my sales career. And then the last 5 years or so, I lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, which the world is finding out about. St. Petersburg, Florida is a dream. And again, I am so very fortunate to live here.
Wait, you live in St. Pete?
Yes.
I live in St. Pete.
You're kidding me, Emily.
I'm like waiting for you to tell me that you moved to the Northeast or something from Tampa. Oh my God. Well, we're going to have to meet up at some point.
Oh my gosh.
I never meet anyone who lives near me on like the west side of Florida. Oh,
You want to come to brunch with us later? We're going to the library if you want to go.
Oh my God. I wish I could. Well, we'll definitely have to put it on the calendar to get a meetup going sometime. How fun is
I'm getting chills right now. Talk about a synchronicity. What are the odds of that?
Oh my God. Well, and I also noticed that you work out in your garage too. So I'm like, okay, we've got some like psychic going.
Oh, but I mean, we're going to have a huge sidebar conversation because there's even a new spot in St. Pete that opened called Hot Zone. And apparently it's an infrared workout place you can go to at any time. And I was thinking of trying that. That'd be so fun if we were to try that out.
Totally.
You work out in an infrared sauna.
I would love to try it. If it's red light, I like that too. So, oh my God. Well, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to totally get disoriented.
Oh no, I'm so disoriented too.
I'm so glad we started with that. So, backing up just a little bit, you mentioned starting your sales career. Are you still in a sales job? Is that what you do most of the time? Or tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I used to be in medical sales and now I'm a sales trainer, which is great because I used to travel a lot. And I know some people love to travel, but it took a toll on me. It was like depressing. And I had such a large territory covering all of Florida. And as you know, as great as some pockets of Florida are, they're not all great. And so now I do sales training and I love it because it allows me to have more of a flexible schedule, work from home. I think in a way is kind of also blended into me making YouTube videos because with training, to me, I know when somebody trains me on something, it's equally as important that they keep you engaged as it is to train you.
Yeah. It's a big kind of commitment thinking about teaching, right? But then also adult learning and bringing those principles in, keeping those engaged. You know, I never knew that much about it until I dove in with some teacher friends, like even trying to make up like 10-minute lesson plans and stuff. You can't really just teach something for an entire hour. And so that is really interesting. And I'm sure that's come into play for your YouTube videos and other stuff too, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Well, that's nice that you get to work from home too. Do you ever have to go into an office at all? Or are you 100% remote?
I mean, with COVID, fortunately, I haven't had to. And I think our organization has realized how much budget they've saved by us not traveling. And I really just hope that they continue with it because I just do not miss it at all.
Yeah. I wish my company was all that page. They're like, we can't wait to get back in the office and travel again. which I do miss travel a little bit, but yeah, there's something to be said for having that routine and consistency at home. And anyway, all of those things. Well, very cool. Excited to know that you're my neighbor pretty much.
I mean, we could end it now, you know.
Well, if I would have known, I'd be like, we should do the interview in person.
Oh, that would be, I think we need to schedule that.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a meetup and then we can like post about that.
Oh, yeah.
Really fun. Well, thinking about your Tracy Anderson journey and how long have you been doing the method now? Can you tell us a little bit about how long and when you got started?
You know, and I meant to actually check when I first posted my first Tracy Anderson review video, but it was a little bit after, I think we were into COVID already, so it hasn't been 2 years. It's probably been about a year and a half. And the way I started was I used to love doing circuit training. I used to actually go to Camp Tampa all the time, if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And I love the classes. They were so great, but it really hurt my joints considerably. And I also would be ravenous. I would get so hungry after the workouts. But I told myself, oh, it's because I got a great workout. And because I got a great workout, that means I can like eat a lot more. Right. And I just found my body fluctuating so much. And the days that I wouldn't work out, I was surprised at how much better I felt and looked even. And I ended up having to get a surgery and couldn't work out for 6 weeks. And I was so scared because I'm one of the many people who have a history of an eating disorder. And it's something I still have to be aware of and still have to be careful about. And I was so scared that in that 6 weeks, all the progress I made doing all the circuit training was just going to be a waste. And all I could do was really walk. And from walking, I was amazed by how much better I looked, how much better I felt. But then I realized, I thought to myself, you know, walking's great, but I want to keep things toned and firm too. And I don't remember how I ended up coming across Erin Busby's channel in this video. I think I had seen it before, but the way that she talked about the Tracy Anderson method and it being low impact and one of the things that helped her and something that didn't add bulk, it really resonated with me. And I ended up ordering Metamorphosis. And then I also realized that the videos were available on YouTube, which made it so much more convenient because who even has DVD players anymore? And I started doing that. And at first I was like, I don't know that this is doing anything, especially because coming from the circuit training, I was just used to like beating down my body is essentially what I was doing. And, but I would get out of the shower and I was like, wow, like things are changing in a way that they've never changed before. And that's when I realized there was something to this. And once I completed Metamorphosis, I started with Online Studio. And I've just been learning as I go. And around the time I was starting Tracy Anderson, I was also starting this YouTube channel. And, you know, this is kind of transitioning into even how I talked about Tracy Anderson so much. I realized that some of my most successful videos were talking about Tracy Anderson. And because, I mean, as much as there's great information in the breakdowns, and even they have the faster breakdowns now too, there was a lot of things I was learning by observing other people on Instagram, which is why I was even just thought this would be great content too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into it. And I still have times where, and I think it's also my eating disorder mentality that for all I knew I will always have, there's times where I still doubt the method, but usually it's because of hormonal changes, which every month I'm amazed at how I forget how it affects me.
That's so true. And I think that's really good to bring up and acknowledge too, because probably everybody goes through that a little bit. Like you get in the zone, you know, you're doing your day to day, you may not realize or pay attention that your cycle's coming up or something else. And then you're thinking, oh, I feel kind of bloated. Maybe this isn't working anymore. Or maybe I need to do more or something like that. And so having those reminders that A, everybody goes through it, and B, it's totally normal, but you're looking for that consistency over time, I think really helps too. And I think it's kind of cool that you found this from Erin Busby. I'm familiar with her too, and I remember her like initial video where she posted her results. Maybe it was like 7 or 8 years ago. It was a while ago, and then I think she stopped doing it, and recently she started doing it again. Like before I think she's living in Spain now, something like that. So anyway, it's kind of cool how other people will come back around to it as well. Totally interesting.
And I mean, these days, I just think about, and I'm on Instagram, yes, but I'm really not on it as much as I could be, which, you know, I like to limit it as much as possible because I realize how easily influenced I am, how easy it is to see other people and be distracted and be like, maybe this isn't the program I should be doing. Maybe I should be doing something else, because we're constantly being sold on things. And I've had to make the conscious decision. I am sticking with this because I know how it's so tempting to try something else out. People will promise the world, and it's like, maybe this isn't working for me. And I realize my attention span, I just want to try all these different things.
Yeah, that's a good point too. There's so much coming at you, and there's not really a ton of accountability when you think of social media. So like anybody could come out and say anything, you know, maybe they're a supermodel, maybe they have amazing genetics or whatever, and you think they invented their own new miracle workout that's going to help you look like them or whatever, which is what I really love about Tracy's method. Is it's really about helping you become the best version of you. Like you're never going to look exactly like her or Courtney or Gwyneth Paltrow or whoever, right? And getting comfortable with that. So it's good that you talk about kind of that filtering out, just so there's not as much noise, maybe not as much distraction, so you can stay committed to what you want to do and keep working your own plan.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it is a conscious effort. It's probably every month or so, or I should probably keep track of how much this happens, but I will reach out to folks on Instagram and be like, have you ever been at this point? And they'll kind of talk me off the ledge.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think that Tamily is great for. And whether you participate daily, weekly, monthly, I feel like it's such a great community. You can kind of jump in, you can jump out if you need to. If you need more support, there are folks that are able to do that. You know, if you need more time to yourself, you can do that too. So it really is a great supportive community too.
I mean, leading up to today, of course, I've been thinking about this so much. I'm so excited, which I'm glad you're keeping me on track, because I realize I will go in all different directions. But when it comes, I was thinking about the Tamily and how much benefit is brought to me, not just in Tracy Anderson, but even in role models, and seeing these incredible women that have families and have careers and are making time for themselves. I have access to all these great influences, and that in itself has been so powerful in my life.
Yeah, that's a great point too. How did you first come across the Tamily, or like figure out what it was? Did you see it before you started doing the method?
No, I did not. I think I may have followed Tracy Anderson, and then even followed people that were following her, and kind of came across it. I may have even come across it just like searching for keywords in YouTube, but it took me a while to learn about the community, just because I used to just go through these phases where I would just delete Instagram from my phone for months at a time.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but you know, I realized that you don't have to be super active on Instagram to benefit from a community.
Yes, that's a great point. Especially if you're trying to create boundaries, because it's one thing to be connected, it's another thing to be consumed, and still making sure that you put your own, what do they say on the airplane, put on your own like air mask first or whatever. So I think that's good.
Totally agree.
I still do that. Lucy, I think she might be talking about deleting Instagram, which I could totally relate. I put it like to the back of my phone. Sometimes I don't go on for a few days because it's just, I'm so busy anyway. Then you don't get as distracted by it.
I mean, there's something to be said about how much more productive you can be when you just delete those platforms from your phone. In one of the productivity courses we facilitate, we have a stat around each time you get distracted while you're doing a task, it takes on average 25 minutes for you to get back to that original task.
Isn't it nuts?
It's nuts.
I actually have, if you ever remember the soap opera, like Days of Our Lives, I think, where it has the like, hour left. I bought myself one of those. It's a 30-minute timer. And so I will just flip that. And that's all the time that I will spend on Instagram. Once the timer runs out, I'm like, done. You know, you get to what you can. And anyway, you can put some other kind of limits. But yeah.
I've heard that there's even apps people will download and it locks them out. I need to look into that too.
Sometimes easier just to remove the troubling app versus add more apps to your phone.
I know. So many things.
I know, so many things. So back to the routine again. I am curious, like, what is your normal go-to routine? Do you do a particular class? Do you do any combination of electives, or do you experiment with dance cardio? What does it look like for you kind of on a weekly basis?
For the most part, I'm very consistent with doing intermediate about 6 times a week.
Yeah.
And there are times where I have more energy and I will incorporate dance cardio. And I have a whiteboard calendar in our, like outside of our kitchen. And one of the things I love to do is each day give myself a check whenever I've completed a mat class, or I'll give 2 checks if I do both the mat class and dance cardio. And I notice that there's certain weeks where one week I'm pretty consistent doing dance cardio 3 to 4 times a week. And then there's other weeks where I don't do dance cardio at all. I dabble every now and then with walking. I think walking is incredible. And even this week with work, there was a lot going on. And sometimes for me personally, I just got to back off of the mat class for a while, because it takes a lot of brain power for me. And sometimes I overthink it. And this week I just did a lot more walking, but it gets me so much more excited to get back on the mat when I'm ready. But for the most part, I'm consistent with intermediate. Early on with online studio, I found myself really pushing to get to advanced attain. And that was even more overwhelming to me. And I just found that I can be consistent with intermediate, and I can learn so much more about the moves with intermediate than trying to push myself with attain.
Yeah, that's a great thing to share too with the community, because I think sometimes in the beginning there's, you know, it's so exciting. Not that it's not exciting several years in, but in the beginning, like, oh, you know, you think you need to get to advance, like that's what the ultimate goal is. But really, it's about what's going to work for you. Some weeks it may be different. Some weeks it may be intermediate. Sometimes it might be advanced. Sometimes it might be multitask. So you can do some mat and some cardio. But really listening to your body, I think, is so important. And honestly, I love intermediate. It's such a great class, and you can get your butt kicked. So anyone that ever says intermediate is easy, I'm thinking you could probably get a lot more out of it. Like, make sure that you're taking the time. It also a great foundational program in general. Get really familiar with the moves and the correct form. So if you do want to go play around, you're not going to hurt yourself. You know, sometimes it looks cool because there's weird rolls back and forth on the chair, or, you know, whatever kind of gymnastic type things that are going on.
It is. I can't believe the creativity in coming up with some of these moves.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it.
I couldn't think of it, you know, so it's great that that she does that for us, right? She's all these great trainers. Do you ever do live classes at all?
I do.
Okay.
And live is one of those things where I go through phases where, again, you can see I'm just a pendulum, really. There's phases where I'm like, why am I paying $40 a month for this? This is like a nice manicure. Or like, but then I do a good live class. And what I mean by good live class is there's some trainers where their playlist resonates more with me than others. Yeah. And when I do a good live class, that's good to me. Like, again, playlist wise, I'm like, this is why I paid for it. Like, even doing one class it really gets me excited. It gets me feeling plugged into the community, and it gets me doing the workout because it's like, all right, it starts at 7:30, better be there.
Yeah.
And especially with at-home workouts, that accountability is so helpful.
Yeah. I'm totally feeling it with you on the lives and everything too, because sometimes it's like, ooh, I can be in the zone and do 4 or 5 live classes in a week, and then sometimes I feel like either the content is kind of crazy and a live class it does go faster, and you might just need to do the studio version. But it's nice to have options, and the variety of learning and following different trainers I think is cool, because watching the moves in their bodies, watching how they each do arms a bit differently, um, sometimes it helps connect more because your body might move more like one trainer versus Tracy or something like that. I think it's awesome.
That is such a great point. And one of those things that I quickly forget. And then I see a trainer, and to your point, just how their figure is, or how tall or short they are, it really does change even your perspective of the moves. And because of how they're situated from the camera, it may be different than the recorded version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really such a learning experience with live too.
I feel like all of us that do the method, we're in there examining everything with like a magnifying glass, like look at the form, where her hands, where's this and that. So yeah, having all these different angles, different experiences allows our inner Tam geeks to like nerd out.
And I've learned that from Kylie from Finding the Angles, is how important it is to be a Tam geek. Like, you've got to study it, and you've got to be enthusiastic about learning it. And I imagine that there's so many people that have tried it and they're like, this is easy, but they don't realize how they're supposed to engage their body. And I think it's something we all continue to learn.
Yeah. I think that was me for like the first 12 months or whatever. It's like you're doing the moves, you think you're doing it, but it's not until later when it really starts to resonate in your own body. You're like, oh, now I'm doing it. Now 40 reps is like insanely hard.
Yes. Which is why I would love if they scheduled another Vitality Week. When's the last one they had? Probably, I'm sure, before COVID.
Yeah, before COVID. Yeah, let's send the like positive intentions out there. Jana recently had put it out there. She was like, I believe in manifesting. So maybe we can get a live at some point, or I'm sorry, Vitality Week, and that would be really cool. I've never been to one either. I guess there was one in St. Pete several years ago before I ever started doing the method. I'm not sure where, but Suzanne went to. So
what?
Yeah.
Okay, and speaking of manifesting, the fact that we're both living in St. Pete, the odds of that.
Right. Who knows?
That's a synchronicity. I think we need to start a petition, a hashtag, St. Pete Vitality.
We should.
I mean, it's starting today.
Yeah. You know what? We could probably rent out like the Body Electric studio. I live right there, basically. Wouldn't that be a fun, cool space? They definitely have the heat.
And you know what? I actually reached out to them. It's $100 an hour to rent out the space, which I was like, do you think we could negotiate a little bit? But it is so beautiful. That is the perfect forum.
Yeah. Well, at $100 an hour, imagine if there's like 20 of us. That'd be.
There you go. That's our workaround for sure. I know it was like $100. Come on, because it was just gonna be me. But now,
I don't know. But if we had a group, I think that could be cool.
That'd be worth it. I'll roll in a TV too, so we can, really have the experience.
We could get a projector or something.
Yeah.
On the wall would be pretty fun. Okay, sorry, I'll keep getting distracted about St. Pete, but when you think about your evolution over the almost 2 years or so that you've been doing the method, like what changes have you noticed? Whether it's physically, mentally, are there moves that in the beginning you were like, what the heck? And now you can really do them, not with ease, but you can perform them?
That is such a loaded question. So I took notes because, as you can tell, I go all over the place. The biggest thing that's even outside of the actual workout that I've really noticed as an advantage is discipline.
Hmm.
I have really been able to identify when I'm BSing myself, or like there's a greater discipline I have, not just in working out, but even in YouTube. I cannot believe that I've been posting a video every week for over a year now. And I think that really comes with the principles that come from Tracy Anderson, and just discipline in other areas, because when you're doing a difficult move and you're kicking and screaming inside, like, I don't want to do this, and you push through it, you're building your discipline muscle in doing that. And how it manifests into other areas of your life is profound, and something that I don't know that I got from other workouts as much, because it's just so different, especially with how some of it, and it can just, some of the moves are so difficult to comprehend, and you have to push through that. Another big thing that I've taken from this is really learning to advocate for myself, not just in that my workout's important, but sometimes you get judgment from this workout. And there have been even some times where people have commented on videos that are like, oh, that's ridiculous, you're not getting the amount of weight training you need, or
Really?
people are judgmental about it. It doesn't happen much, thank goodness.
Oh.
I can only imagine how much Tracy has gotten that. But even when I was first starting Tracy Anderson, my husband was like, are you like, you really gotta get it, are you getting a great sweat on? He wondered if this was like a great workout, because he's an athlete, and to him a great workout is like when you're about to puke. And I really had to advocate for myself and be like, listen, this is important to me, I know that this works for me. And of course, like, he's supportive, but I think it's just really helped me to be an advocate for myself and think for myself, because you're going to have all these people coming at you, oh, this is what you need to do, this is why you're not getting the results. But it's like, how does your body feel? I mean, everybody's saying you should be doing high intensity interval training, but like, it does not feel good for me. I know that my body does not like this, and that's been major for me. So like, discipline, advocating for myself, even though it may be going against the grain. And then for the moves themselves, I learned how important it is, like you said, to study the moves, be a TAM geek, really notice for the stretching and engaging the muscles.
Yeah.
It's also been so helpful for me to read her old books. Like, she has the 30-day method, which is full of awesome information. I'm even reading her teen book right now, which I wish I had that as a young woman. It's like, wow, listen to your body. How incredible is that?
Revolutionary. I know.
Yeah, revolutionary. Wait, you're not supposed to stuff your emotions down with food? What?
You don't learn that till your 30s.
Right.
A lot of times, even if the information is available for younger people, it's hard to think, like, if you think of yourself at that age, like, would you have taken that advice? I don't know if I would have either. So there's something else too about, as you're starting to mature, and to your point, advocate for yourself, listen to yourself, figure out what's important, block out the noise. You do have to kind of create this confidence for yourself to be able to push back if people are questioning you. What I always think is funny is someone will be like, oh, you look great, what's your workout? And then if you tell them it's the method, they're going to immediately tell you why it's wrong. And you're just like, what? I didn't really care about your opinion or whatever.
That's a skill, isn't it? It's like,
yeah,
because I think I've gotten so much better about compartmentalizing that, and like, accepting people have their own opinions. And I get it. I probably wouldn't have thought highly of this a few years ago either. But it is so strange. If you were to say yoga,
yeah,
you probably would get a different response.
true.
I don't know. I'm making that up, though. I don't know that for sure.
But and you're right too. It's also, thinking about the trends of workouts over the years. So you mentioned, like, high intensity is kind of the in thing right now. But if you look 10 years ago, were more people doing Pilates, or was it, whatever? It's sort of whatever is the trend. Peloton can be the trend or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those. To me, the best workout is the one that you actually do. So I'm like, I don't care what people do. But if they ask me about what I do, I usually have to make sure that they're prepared to, like, because otherwise I'll give him like the very short version. I'm like, do you really want to know how?
Yeah, like the obligatory, you asked, I answered, and that's where we're gonna leave this.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I mentioned that I had seen you work out in your garage. How did you get kind of inspired to work out in your garage? What's your setup like? Tell me about how that goes. And does it get nice and hot in summer? Don't you love that free humidity?
Okay, so we live in a historic home,
Okay.
and historic homes, like, it's 100 years old basically, and it comes with its own challenges. And I was working out in the house for a long time, and then I finally introduced the infrared heat and the humidity, and I realized in this home of ours, by me using the heater, it messed up with the thermostat of the whole house. And my husband's like, what are you doing? Like, this is throwing everything out of whack. Not to mention, I was worried it was going to warp our original floors. And I had reached out to other tammers, and they hadn't had that issue. Not to mention, I also sometimes like to jam out, which maybe I'm not the most considerate wife, because sometimes I'd be jamming out and my husband's on a conference call. And he'd be like, Rachel, you can't be playing stripper music while I'm on a work call.
They're like, is he up right now? They're not sure where he's taking the call from.
So then I made space in the garage. That's been awesome. Especially, I think, for me, it's helpful to compartmentalize the area. If I'm working out in an area that I'm also doing work from, it can just create a layer of stress for me, but having it like just a dedicated spot for it. Not to mention, when it's not as humid here in Florida, like today is such a gorgeous day, it's not even humid. Like, what a great hair day, one of the few.
Great for 5 seconds.
Yeah, and so that's been so nice. But I mean, once it's really heating up again, I'm probably not going to need that at all. But I like to just, yeah, the garage has been awesome. I'm sure that I jam out neighbors here, but Tam has taught me not to really care. So.
The only courtesy I give my neighbors is if I have to work out really early, I'll keep the garage door closed. But otherwise, like now that's warming up, I crack it so I can get breeze. I have had a few times where people will come and like knock on the garage door. Sometimes it's to request a song. So like, asking for a different type of music. My neighbors have 2 little toddlers, and they come toddling by, and they'll always like peek under and like wave, you know, because they're so short, so they can kind of see. And the parents are like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Oh, it's totally fine." I've invited them to come in and jump on my bounce floor, which they like to do that. So.
Okay, do you have the Super G bounce floor, or do you have a different one?
I don't have Tracy's floor. Mine is from the American Gym.
Okay.
But it's a great sprung floor, probably about a fifth the cost, if I'm honest, because I did the research on all that, and I was like, okay, am I going to use this, and is it going to be safe in my garage with the heat and humidity? I didn't want to invest in the Tracy floor unless I can like build my own indoor TAM studio, private sealed off room. But I really like it. It's great.
I've heard great things about that, and yes, I also looked into the price. And
yeah, I want one, but I'm like, wish list for some other time. Well, I'll have you over to my place. You can try my floor.
Oh, cool! I'm so excited. So excited.
It'll be so fun. So tell me a little bit about like, what do you have, like specific shoes that you wear for the mat versus dance cardio? How have you kind of figured out your equipment and routine and all of that?
Okay, so for my shoes, first, when I first started dance cardio and I was working out in the house, I always walk around barefoot in the house, and I would work out barefoot. Oh, no. And then somebody commented, like, you really should wear shoes. And I realized, no kidding. What a difference that made. My gosh. Anytime anyone's like, oh, what shoes do you recommend? I mean, to me, any supportive shoes are great. I ended up buying these Nike Zoom double stack shoes. I swear they're like bounce shoes.
Yeah.
They look to some ridiculous. I think they look a bit fashion forward. My husband makes fun of me, but the problem with them is they have like these claws on the back of them. And sometimes if I do the mat workout with them, I will scratch myself, depending on what the moves are, so I have to be careful. Those are awesome for balance. I really want to try, I think it's pronounced the Hoka shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to try, I've heard great things about them, but then I've also heard some people have had trouble with them, so I don't know. But I do like those Zoom double stacked ones, but even if I just work out with just good sneakers, I find them good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think we may try to, as we collect more feedback about sneakers and if people have narrow feet, wide feet, what they like for dance cardio, just to state some recommendations for others. I feel like shoes is always something people are trying to figure out. Like the Hokas I tried before, but if you're a klutz like me and prone to tripping, you have to be careful because some of their soles on the shoe is like super thick, but it can be very comfy and cushy. So
yeah, it's interesting you said that because I was messaging somebody about them and she was going to try them out and she actually injured herself with them and was like, I wouldn't recommend it. But I also wonder, now that platform shoes are trending, I feel like I'm starting to get some practice. But I think that could even happen with the double stack shoes too. Like it is, you're about 2 inches off the ground.
Yeah. Well, you can go over to Fit to Run over downtown and you can try on the Hokas. So they'll let you like run around the store. You can like, I've jumped around in there.
Oh my gosh. I'm taking notes here. I'm going there.
What about your music? I know you mentioned some stripper tunes. Everybody loved in the chat. Do you play your own music? Do you listen to the studio with the dings in it? Or tell me, how does that work?
Oh, okay. That is a whole nother thing. One of the reasons why I love the recorded sessions is because of the dings. Because then you can like get in your zone and you don't have to like worry about continuing to look over.
Yeah.
That would be some of my biggest feedback for the online studio. Like, can you have somebody like an intern in the background dinging every time they change for the live classes? That would be amazing. And I'm so impressed by how the royalty-free music is pretty dang good. Like there's certain songs that they repeat and I'm so happy that they repeat them because they're really good. Okay. And sometimes they sound, it's almost like a diet version of Maroon 5 that they're playing on the, like they have really similar, I'm like, is this J. Cole?
Light.
But, so first of all, Derek Edge, one of the trainers.
Yes.
Everybody needs to follow him on Spotify. He has a great playlist. He's been the only one I've actually looked for on Spotify. I know Tracy Anderson also has her own great playlist. I'll go through, like lately, I've been loving Britney Spears. Like there's even, like I'll just do like the Britney Spears radio and I forget how many great songs she had. And to me, whatever song makes me feel like sexy and like I'm a bad bitch, like that's what I want to play. So
I love that. I love some of that mixed in. I love all variety of music, so I'll never just play like one genre. My playlists are kind of like a wild mix. But it's interesting you mentioned about the ding. I'm sort of envisioning somebody in there with like a signal in the live class. But some of my other TAM friends were chatting. I never listened to Tracy's music ever. I always play my own and do the class. So I've never got to experience the dings. So maybe what they would be willing to do, which I'm sure they won't, would be just to have the dings with no music so that you could play it and you could also have your own music and still hear that.
And someone even said if they could even have like a flash on the screen or some type of indicator to just make it obvious to people. Yeah. Another great thing for the royalty-free music, and I think if anybody's done Metamorphosis, like you're kind of traumatized, or any of the record, like you're traumatized by music, and like you don't even want to. That may be your case, right? It's like you don't even want to try it out. But
yeah,
one of the benefits for me listening to the royalty-free music is, again, as distracted as I get by absolutely everything, it stops me from thinking, oh, I should play a different song, or getting caught up in if I'm using the right song or not, because it's just taken care of for me.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to think about it like one less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm lazy. I don't even sync my songs like per beat, so I just play what I like, and then.
I love how you called yourself lazy for doing that. Who's gonna sync a? I mean, that's some commitment right there.
Kristen is very good at that. Who you talk to for like your preliminary discussion, she she has spreadsheets. She knows how to deal with like the beats per minute and then trying to get as close to the beats per minute that Tracy will do for the arms and stuff. So we can like sync that sometimes for themed workouts. Maybe I'm
Wow.
but yeah, I am not good at that. I'm lazy.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Do you have any like Tam laundry tips? Or I guess if you and your husband are both working out all the time, what's like the laundry situation? How do you guys keep that from being too funky?
Well, lately, because it hasn't been as hot, my clothes haven't gotten as sweaty. And my husband is much more of a, what's the term I'm looking for? Like he gives himself his own haircuts. He flosses twice a day. Like I've learned a lot from him. I thought I was gonna go if I was flossing once a week. He's taught me some great habits. He is very specific about separating his laundry, workout clothes, work clothes. I hate to be admitting this on live, but especially because my clothes haven't been as sweaty, you know, I will just a lot of times put them all on together. And I love that like Tyler's laundry scent thing. I don't know if you've ever seen that on TikTok or Instagram, but it makes all my laundry smell good. I don't really worry about it. But my husband will be like, so-and-so smells like they mix their laundry, you know, their workout clothes with their regular clothes, because he's just so aware of smells, and he has me waxing my nose now, so. I didn't realize I needed that.
Oh, no. Well, maybe you'll have to interview your husband for some laundry.
I knew I would share too much.
No, I love it. Everybody's got their own approach. I was talking with Ryan Redmond, who's a trainer, friends with Derek as well. And I think he keeps all his separate, but he's putting like tea tree oil and all this stuff. I keep all mine separate. I always air dry them, which sometimes takes like 2 days to dry because they're so disgusting and wet. And then I wash it all together. And I use a lot of white vinegar, no fabric softener, no other added scent. And that for spandex material, it gets it a lot cleaner, because sometimes it can smell clean coming out of the dryer and smell like, oh, Downy or Snuggle or whatever you use. And as soon as you start sweating, you're like, oh, what is that?
Okay, yes.
So
okay, so do you just put it in the washing machine with white vinegar and no detergent?
No, I use detergent too. So
okay.
But then in the fabric softener section of the whatever in my washing machine, I put white vinegar in there. I buy it in bulk.
Awesome. And then people
vinegar, it's like you won't smell it.
And then people add tea tree oil too, you said?
Yeah, and there's a couple people in the chat that are saying eucalyptus beads are amazing.
Ooh, eucalyptus beads. Adding that to my Instagram cart. I love eucalyptus.
Yes, that sounds good. Okay.
I hope no one's judging me for how little I care about laundry. I will now.
No, I'm always just curious because, you know, when we work out a lot, it's like half your wardrobe is workout clothes, and you're thinking about how to get them out of it, right?
Yes.
So is there like one piece of equipment in your Tam cave that you can't live without? It was like, I'm going to come steal all your Tam stuff. You can keep it. What would you keep?
Okay. One of the biggest game changers was even having a TV to plug my laptop into. I didn't realize what I was missing. I mean, you see so much more detail. Yeah. I also have, it's called a B mat. It's just the brand of the mat. It's an extra grippy, like kind of rubbery mat. And I find I really don't slide around like I used to with that B mat. And that came from me posting a question on the community page, and somebody recommended that. Those are the two biggest things for me.
Tell me, is it V like Victoria? Or?
A B as in boy. B mat.
I never heard of it.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't heard of it either, but it's extra grippy, which is great. Sometimes I would use gloves to help with the grippiness, but it's like with all the sweating, it's like my skin gets so sensitive, and I'll get it's almost like the gloves give me calluses.
Yeah, because you have more friction I think is the challenge. And when your skin is like super sweaty and already moist, you're kind of like raisiny, and then you're rubbing. Sometimes I would get that like on my elbows too.
Me too.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. There are a couple of good lotions. They don't necessarily solve all of that, but they help. So there's like any lotion that has urea, I don't know how to say it, in that is really good. And then there's other lotions that have like a bit of lactic acid or whatever. So they kind of slowly exfoliate to help, because I always joke around, I have elephant knees and elbows. And I'm like, it's fine. I'll take that, like, to feel like comfortable and strong and whatever. But like, wow, is the mat like actually getting into my skin? I'm not sure.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I've even the CeraVe healing ointment, which is basically like a Vaseline, has helped me too. But that's good to know about that urea.
Yeah, I think Eucerin is one of the brands where you can see it, where it has like, I don't know, 10% in there or something.
Oh, awesome.
Help a lot. All right. I'm like, what other? I feel like I'm so off topic with the question.
It's me, I'm telling you.
No, it's good. I'm like trying to see if there's questions in the chat. Mostly it's like a ton of comments and hearts and all this stuff. People sharing feedback on vinegar and all of that, which I feel validated that I'm not the only person using that. But I do want to get those eucalyptus beads. I'm like,
oh, me too.
Tell us where to find those. Are they on Amazon? And if anybody has any questions for Rachel, feel free to type them in the chat too. Otherwise, I will get back to the regular scheduled programming. Okay, so as someone who has obviously been new within the past couple of years, what advice would you give to somebody else who's just starting out with the method?
Wow, this is another loaded question. So I have some friends who they haven't tried it yet, but I know that they've been on the border of it because they've had the frustration around feeling like they were bulking from their workouts and feeling like it wasn't giving them the results they were expecting. And I think the biggest piece of advice is the importance of being patient. We live in this world now where we want instant results. We have these high expectations. We see people on social media and they look perfect and we just want to be that way ASAP. And I think anytime somebody sees like these, some of my TAM friends that I call my TAM goddesses, it's like, how am I going to look like that? When am I going to look like that? And it's patience is everything. And then also finding things outside of the physical results. Mm-hmm. Like for me, being plugged into a community of like such influential women who just not only are so positive, but have created these like dream lives for themselves has been so helpful to me. And even these friendships I built, which I never thought I would be saying like, oh, talk to my husband, me and my Instagram friend were talking about this, I never, but finding other things outside of the physical results and being patient is probably the biggest thing. And then lastly, it's one of the things Kylie from Finding the Angles taught me, like, you've got to be a student of this. You've got to be curious about how to do it right and really present around it, which is so different than other workouts.
Yeah. That is great advice, all of those. So thank you for sharing that. I think sometimes the other thing that can be challenging when you're new is you want to study and do everything right. And if you're a personality type that gets like really worked up about that, you have to figure out how to balance going with the flow, even if it's not perfect, and just doing it so that you don't find yourself like pause, rewind, or whatever. It's like that balance of study, like do the class and study after, and then focus on implementing one or two changes the next time you do the workout, and just allow yourself to kind of be in it. Don't get too critical, because otherwise you're like, oh, is my hip 1 or 2 inches away from where it's supposed to be? It can be a little
right
too, right?
That is such great advice too, because I know I've always been this kind of all or nothing personality.
Yeah.
I used to live very much in extremes. And one of the things this method has taught me is it may not be perfect, but you keep moving anyways. And it's all about moving. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people may not know about is it's going to take a while to master and to even understand the moves. And I really wish, because I know they have the breakdowns and everything, but in reading these books, these older books from Tracy, it's almost like they need a workshop for everybody to go through. I mean, people would pay extra money to like really understand it, and so that you can be more in tune with how do you know if you're doing it right? Because it seems a lot of us are learning from each other, and a lot of times the breakdowns don't go into as much detail as I think they could.
Yeah. And it's probably a balance for them too, of like not overwhelming you.
No.
So like you can have a workshop for like what you should know in the first 90 days, and then a different one for like 6 months. And so that way you're getting enough information to focus on in the beginning so that you still feel confident and do it and not just be like, I'm not perfect yet. Oh no.
Yes.
The time is going to pass anyway. And to truly master something, what does the research say? It takes like 10,000 hours to practice, right? And so it's like all of us still have a long way to go.
I know.
The only true masters are Tracy and her team, really, you know, of like who's been doing it that long. So that balance of keep learning and growing, but also give yourself a break and make sure that you still have fun. Because if it's not fun, you're not even going to want to do it.
Right. And one of the things I've wondered is if there's a balance for Tracy even to share enough, but not share so much that she's giving away her recipe.
Yeah.
Because in her developing this, and I know that some of her trainers have gone on to do their own thing, and I can just only imagine that there is that fine line too of just like giving away the secret recipe.
Yeah. You definitely have to think about that. I think NDAs are key, right? But the other element too, and this is, I work in marketing, so forgive me for like geeking out on marketing for a second, but like there are rules and foundational strategies to marketing. And as a market leader, your job is to really grow the entire market. And there will always be imitators. But when you're the leader, you focus on growing everything overall, knowing that that's still going to happen, but not getting as distracted by it. Because if you're performing and offering the best quality product, people are still going to go to you. And they're, you know, it sucks, but people will always start to copy you. Sometimes they say imitation is what the most sincere form of flattery. But having that balance and just not getting too consumed. But yeah, there's so much to her developing this that she probably could never even articulate. So it's like some of us, we want to know everything, but we really can't know it. So we just have to be comfortable in that too. We have to read the books.
I even struggle with, I would love an elevator pitch to properly explain what it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think I have that dialed in.
Yeah.
Or when those friends ask you what you're doing, I wonder even how Tracy explains it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know if she does, because I've listened to a few after class talks before, and I'm like, I don't see it explained in like a minute or 30 seconds. We'll come up with it, put it out there for the Tamily and see if we can get some feedback on it.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you could call it like acrobatic, you know, aerobic ninja dance training or something like that. A little bit of MMA mixed in or something.
Who knows?
Yeah. So on the less serious side, we have a couple of questions, and I know I had asked for these, so I want to make sure that I give a chance to ask you. Do you have any recommendations for leggings that are affordable-ish? So I'm not sure if there's a price limit there, but maybe if we say under $100, would you have any recommendations for leggings that you really like and perform well?
Okay, so one of the go-to, I admire so much how so many of the Tamers, they have such an extensive workout wardrobe, but I am very practical. I really like to have items that I'm going to wear it a lot. That may be why I don't post my workouts a lot, is because I'm usually rotating a lot of the same stuff. But my go-to tried and true are the Nike Pro leggings.
Ooh, okay.
They're about $50. They're pretty flattering. Those are awesome. There's also an Under Armour legging that I used to get. I would have to follow up, and I can even comment on this once this is on YouTube, what it is. But those are, so the Nike leggings are great, but they don't give the amount of firming that some other leggings do. Whereas these Under Armour ones, I mean, I have many pairs of them because like on Zappos, they'll go on sale and they're ultra flattering. They have like a nice sheen to them. And I need to figure out how to get the Under Armour logo off of them because I don't know. I just don't really want the logo on there. But those are two awesome ones. There's some other brands I want to try. Like I really want to try the Fit Mama ones because I hear the best things about them. I just every time I go there, they're sold out because they're so popular. But those are the two that I have multiple pairs of them and they're always good.
I think that's great having like stuff that you wear a lot too, right? Because yeah, it can be easy to get carried away with workout wear or whatever. But think about if you're doing laundry every week, how much do you really need? Sometimes it's fun, just like fashion is fun, but yeah, figuring out what's important to you. And I love getting the most use out of it is like what makes me feel great. I've yet to have maybe only one pair of leggings ever like wear out.
Mm-hmm.
Lululemon leggings that are approaching a decade old. The lines still in great shape. Like, I don't know.
See, that's when it's worth it. And so even for like the Nike ones, they're great, but you do have to make sure you hang them to dry. And I do find that the seams kind of, I don't know that they're going to last a decade like the Lululemon ones will.
Yeah. Just figure out what's comfy for you, cost per wear, also joy per wear, which is what I like to think about too. Like, does it bring you happiness to wear? Is it fun to wear like a fun print once in a while or whatever? It's kind of, they've got their own little flavor.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty of workout purchases that have motivated me to work out and that way they've served their purpose.
Exactly. If it's doing its job, then that's great. We have another question for you. I'm not sure her first name, so I'm not going to read it because, well, maybe it's Sophia. I'm going to guess it's Sophia. When do you work out usually, and does your workout timing affect your appetite?
Okay. So usually I work out in the mornings, like around 7. And I find that when I work out first thing in the morning, it works best for me, especially when it comes to my appetite. You could call it intermittent fasting, but it's something I've kind of fallen into where my first meal is usually around noon. And I think it's because by waiting, it helps with my blood sugar. Whereas if I wake up in the morning, eat first thing, I find that I just want to eat more throughout the day, and that kind of affects my hunger. And then by the end of the workday, I'm less likely to work out. So when it comes to being consistent with the workout and also balancing my hunger, I find if I work out relatively first thing in the morning, around 7 a.m., and then have lunch around noon, I don't find myself getting as ravenous.
Yeah. And you said that that can sometimes vary a little bit. If you add in cardio or something, you might notice you might be a little bit hungrier, or you just kind of adapt if you're going to do that.
Right. And that's sometimes dance cardio is it's a dance in that if I do too much dance cardio, I want to inhale food. And usually 3 to 4 times a week that doesn't happen, but sometimes I, get a bit ambitious and I will exceed that. And then that's when I just want to inhale stuff. So too much dance cardio for me is not a good thing. And I know that's happened to a lot of other people too.
Yeah. It's all about that balance, right? So sometimes dance cardio 3 days a week, sometimes no dance cardio for a month. If you feel good and like you're moving and you're engaging, especially in the opening ceremony and stuff like that, you can really get so much out of the hour that you already put in. And everybody's jobs are different, family situations different. How much time do you have? I wish I was just like a wealthy retired, lady of leisure or something where I could like work out for 2 hours a day, but I don't have that luxury either. So we just do the best we can and cheer each other on. I think, that's what's great about this method, it's community. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it's already been an hour. I feel like we can talk on here like all day long. That you've got a brunch you're going to go get to. And It's been fantastic to get to know you on this level. I can't wait to meet you in real life, hopefully soon. So we'll have to connect about that. I'll email you.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that?
Totally. And Kristen didn't tell me. Maybe she didn't know that you lived in St. Pete because I was like, oh, for some reason just thought you were up north somewhere. I have no idea why.
Oh my gosh. That is really incredible. Really incredible.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you want to share with the Tamily before we sign off? Anything that you'd want to say?
I mean, really, I'm just so thankful for the Tamily. And even, for me, I have this YouTube channel and everyone's been so supportive. And I think anytime you want to go out on a limb and, put yourself out there, it's very vulnerable. And I couldn't ask for a better community to do that with. So really just thank you. And thank you to you, Emily, for this interview. It's been awesome. And I'm really shocked. I mean, this is one of those weird, give you chills moments that we both live in the same city. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
So thank you to you too. And I'm just so impressed with Ask Tamily. And I think anybody that wants to take a stab at this, you'll be in great hands.
Yeah, we love it. Anybody else that wants to be interviewed in the chat, please send us a message. Our goal is to interview everybody. So you'll see us, 85, 86 years old. We'll be like Barbara interviews. But we love getting to know everybody, learn from everybody. It's such a great community, and it always reinvigorates me on connecting with everybody when I have the chance to meet and do an interview. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And thanks to everybody for tuning in and engaging in the conversation. It was really fun. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next interview.
Thank you. Bye.